Hi everyone, welcome to the English class. I suppose that you've had your trial on this platform already. This is just a quick overview of what you may have learned in the past few days. I'm happy that at least we have an opportunity to learn something online. Okay, so quickly, let's know who's in class today and who is not in class. I think you can make use of the chat box on your right hand bottom corner. You type your name and then you send in. You just post it so we know who you are in the class right now. Just a quick review, like I said, we looked at balance report and bias report. What does the word balance mean to you? What does the word balance mean to you? I believe that you may have several meanings or several definitions to the word balance, but basically it's a situation where all elements are equal or are given the right proportion. So maybe in discussion of an argument, for something you have three arguments for a particular issue at stake, and then you also have three arguments against a particular issue at stake. In that case, we can say that there is a balance. You have a point, the one who is arguing against also has a point. Basically, when you put it on the scale, it's at the same level. There's no weight tilting to the left or right all by itself. When the argument is equal, then we can say there is a balance. Now, what does the word bias mean to you? Bias, I think, is basically an opposite of what we have just discussed. A cause to feel prejudice for something, basically, a cause to feel prejudice for something. Now, let's take an example. For example, Tanya and Christella are fighting, and then Tanya started a fight, and then Christella joined in the fight. But when Christella did join in the fight, she said something to the effect that Tanya was very angry, and then the fight went on. Now, if you look into the case, Tanya has a point, and Christella also has a point, but you choose to side with Tanya because Tanya is your friend, and so you just rather blame Tanya for all that she has done. In that case, you are having a bias on the whole fight. You don't tend to think that Christella was right. You rather tend to think that Tanya was right and Christella was wrong. That is when you have a bias to a situation. So now, what is a balance report then? A report that simply presents all aspects of an issue and also leave readers to make their own minds and judgments can be considered as a balance report. Now, let me ask you, is it always possible that people have one-sided conclusions about the issues they encounter? Do you think we can always have one thought about something and there wouldn't be any other thought? I leave that to your judgment. You tell me the answer. Now, what are the key aspects of this report you have just read? And so I put up the report for you to have read. I'm sure you read it. If you didn't read it, I suggest you read it again. What are the key aspects of this report you have just read? In other words, what are the main features of the report? It has a title, isn't it? What is the title? Is it time to ban cars from city centers? That is the title, I suppose. And then number two, it has an introduction to the issue to be discussed. Can you identify the introduction to the issues to be discussed? What does it say? Where is the introduction? And if you read up there, it says that air pollution is a serious issue and it affects us all directly. Action may be needed to reduce an air pollution created by the traffic on our roads. So that is the introduction. So you see that this report, one, has a title, also has number two, an introduction. The other thing is a topic sentence. Number 3, it has a topic sentence for each part of the argument. Now, I need you to identify the topic sentence. I'm sure you have found it already as you read the page above. Now, number 4, there are arguments also for the motion or the issue of discussion. There are arguments for the motion discussion. In other words, you can find out that an argument has been presented against the issue. In this case, what is the issue? Is it time to ban cars from the city? If you say yes, it's time to ban cars from the city, then you have arguments for that motion to support the fact that cars should be banned from the city. Then again, there are arguments against the motion or the issue of discussion. Okay, so you find out that there are also arguments against the motion or the issue of discussion. And like we said in this same discussion, is it time to ban cars from the city? Someone says, no, it's not time to ban cars from the city. So he has arguments against this motion that it's time to ban cars from the city centers. So usually in a balanced report, you see that there are arguments for and there are arguments against the motion. Now, finally, there is also a conclusion that offers a recommendation. If you just look at what we have read above, there is a conclusion of the report in the final phase. Now, I think that we can move on, since we have already been through this session on page 88, to look at the features of a balanced report on page 89. Now, let's discuss these features. Look at them very well, and then find out whether what we have read, all these features can be identified, what to note and what not to note. Okay, so the questions you want to ask yourself: did the report we just read meet all the criteria above? Yes or no, and why? Yes or no, and why? What are the features? What are the features you see above? Did this report meet all the features that we can see above? I just need 2 people to give me answers to this. Number 1, it has a heading and is divided into paragraphs. Number 2, the introduction states the issue, as you have just seen. Number 3, there is a conclusion that summarizes both points, given recommendations. Number 4, it is fair to both sides. Number 5, each view is supported with reasons or evidence. So we have 3 points for or 3 points against, for example. And then number 6, the language is formal and unbiased. Again, the word bias, we see the opposite form of the word bias. Unbiased. I believe that you have understood bias, and therefore you should be able to understand what unbiased means. And then also the fact that paragraphs link and flow together. So if you have one paragraph, it's talking about an argument for, there is a connection. All that is connected to talk about the arguments for. All right. So these are questions you need to answer for yourself. Did the report we just read meet all the criteria above? Yes or no, and then why you think so. Now, if you were to write your own report, are there any other features you would like to include in this? That's the big question for today. Before we move on, can you please tell me, if you were to write your own report, are there any other features you would like to include in addition to the features we have just seen?